Now friends, we are going to see a very important topic, and that is CA cervix, cancer cervix. This topic is important as this is the second commonest cancer with which women are affected, and they die with this. The mortality is very high, and the speciality of this cancer is it is preceded by pre-malignant condition, and there is a transformation from that pre-malignant condition to malignancy over a period of time. If the cancer is detected in later stages, then the prognosis is very bad. But because we have this period in which in pre-malignant condition, if we can detect, we can treat it, and thus we can save lives of women. So we need to understand the pathophysiology, what exactly happens, how it progresses, what is the treatment available and accessible. Screening for pre-malignant disease of the cervix, it will markedly reduce the deaths of cervical cancer. So we are going to see what is the pre-malignant condition, and as you can see on the board, that CIN, that is cervical intraepithelial neoplasias, what is the terminology in use right now is this, and this is the pre-malignant condition which we are going to discuss in detail to begin with. What is transformation zone? You all know that the cervix, the endocervix is lined by columnar epithelium and the ectocervix is lined by squamous epithelium. Squamous epithelium is the tougher one, columnar is not that tough. So till puberty, the vaginal pH is alkaline and columnar epithelium is till outside. The squamo-columnar junction is on the ectocervix. But as in puberty, there is this bacteria coming in, releasing and causing the pH to become acidic. Dodderlin's bacilli, you all know. So as the pH becomes acidic, we need a tougher epithelium to fight with this acidic pH. And thus, on the ectocervix, the columnar epithelium gets replaced by the tougher epithelium, that is squamous epithelium. So if this is the cervix os, the squamocolumnar junction which was outside, now this epithelium which was columnar initially is getting replaced by squamous, thus the squamocolumnar junction is moving inside. And the distance where this columnar epithelium has changed to squamous is called as transformation zone. And the process in which one type of epithelium gets converted into another form of epithelium, this is called as metaplasia. So this transformation zone is the area where we have to look for this malignancy, or malignancy is commonly seen in this transformation zone of the cervix. I hope you understood the concept. Metaplasia, again I repeat, it is a change of epithelium from one cell lining to another, columnar to squamous or squamous to columnar. Dysplasia is much different than metaplasia. Metaplasia is normal. The cells which are replacing each other, they all are normal. But dysplasia means abnormal epithelial cells that fail to mature. So these cells have hyperchromasia, they are larger, variable in size, mitosis can be seen. So dysplastic cells are not normal cells, and dysplasia can be mild, moderate and severe. CIN is condition of cervix where a part or full thickness of the stratified epithelium, the stratified squamous epithelium. You all know squamous epithelium has different layers, basal, parabasal. So all these layered cells. So this is a stratified epithelium. So CIN is a condition where either part or complete thickness of this stratified epithelium is replaced by dysplastic cells. Then it is called as CIN. And carcinoma situ is where the whole of the thickness is replaced by the dysplastic cell, but the basement membrane is yet intact. And invasive carcinoma is when this basement membrane is also invaded by this dysplastic cell, then it is called as invasive carcinomas. So these terminologies are going to come more frequently now. What are the characteristics of dysplastic cells? Again, MCQ can be asked and is asked on this. They vary in size, shape and polarity. There is altered nuclear cytoplasmic ratio. It's raised. Normally a cell has lots of cytoplasm and nucleus is a little smaller. In dysplastic cells, the nuclei become bigger, cytoplasm is reduced, So nucleus to cytoplasmic ratio is increased. Larger irregular hyperchromatic nuclei with marginal condensation of the chromatin material is a classical feature. They show several mitotic figures. In carcinoma in situ, basement membrane remains intact. There is no stromal invasion. Once there is stromal infiltration or the basement membrane is broken, then it is labeled as invasive carcinoma. Now, how this CIN is graded? Pap smear, previously when WHO has this grading, in Pap smear it was first graded as mild dysplasia, which was later converted into CIN1, means labeled as, not converted into. Mild dysplasia was labeled as CIN1. Moderate dysplasia, where almost 2/3 of the epithelium is having dysplastic cell, is called as CIN2. Where more than 2/3 of the stratified epithelium is showing dysplastic cells, it is called as severe dysplasia and called as CIN3. And where full thickness of the stratified squamous epithelium is showing dysplastic cells but the basement membrane is intact, is called carcinoma in situ. So mild dysplasia, where lower 1/3 is showing dysplastic cell, CIN1. Moderate, 2/3, CIN2. Severe, more than 2/3, CIN3. Full thickness with basement membrane intact, it is carcinoma in situ. Now, there was introduction of Bethesda system for the classification of Pap smear in 2001, and let's get acquainted with few terminologies. Negative for squamous cell or the normal smear. Then we have ASCUS, that is atypical squamous cells of undetermined significance. Then atypical squamous cells where they cannot exclude HSIL. HSIL is high squamous intraepithelial lesion. Low-SIL or LSIL is low-grade squamous intraepithelial lesion. High-grade squamous epithelial lesion is called as HSIL, which encompasses CIN2, 3 and carcinoma in situ. These are the terminologies and how they are related. Let's see that. In CIN, which the smear was repeated as normal, in Bethesda system it is also considered as normal. In CIN, where there was the second grade which was reported as inflammatory, in Bethesda system it is called as inflammatory or HPV and or ASCUS. CIN1, that is mild dysplasia, is labeled as low-SIL or LSIL in Bethesda system, and CIN2, CIN3 and carcinoma in situ is called as HSIL or high-SIL in Bethesda system. And invasive carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma, that is the 5th grade. So please remember the Bethesda system and the terminologies used, because all the MCQs would be giving this classification. The question would be asked that a woman of particular age has come and her Pap smear shows L-SIL lesion or low-SIL lesion. Her Pap smear shows high-SIL. So you have to understand, when they say that it is L-SIL, you have to understand we are talking about CIN1, that is mild dysplasia. When they say HSIL, we have to understand that we are talking about CIN2, CIN3 and carcinoma in situ. The basement membrane is intact. Mild is CIN1, low-SIL. Moderate to severe dysplasia, full thickness, basement membrane intact, it is high-SIL lesion, CIN2, CIN3 and CIS. So let's see now how to deal with these lesions. There are certain major changes. Just again to introduce the terminologies, ASCUS is changed to ASC, either undetermined significance or where HSIL cannot be ruled out, and AGUS is changed to AGS. Now, what are the predisposing factors for CIN? HPV infection is considered as major factor for leading to CIN. Along with HPV, if there is presence of STDs like chlamydia and herpes infection, they act as cofactors. Other predisposing factors like coitus before 18 years of age, multiple sexual partners, multiparity, poor personal hygiene, especially genital hygiene, poor socioeconomic status, smoking. Smoking increases risk for CA cervix. Drug abuse, alcohol, immunosuppressed patient. Combine OC pills more than 8 years. But over here, remember, they cause adenocarcinoma of the cervix, not squamous cell carcinoma. So these are the risk factors. I would like you to remember HPV as the main factor, and along with that, other STDs. Don't forget the name chlamydia and herpes infection as the cofactors. Let's talk about HPV. It's very important from our point of view. It's a DNA virus. Over 100 different types and subtypes are seen. But common infection is seen. The genital HPV is divided into low risk type and high risk type. Low risk type viruses are 6 and 11, HPV 6 and 11, and they usually lead to genital warts. And high risk type are HPV 16, 18, 31, 33, 45 and 56. And they are the one which are actual causative agents for CIN. HPV 16 and 18 you just cannot afford to forget when you are talking about CIN. Remember the number 16 and 18. It's a common infection while cervical cancer is a rare disease. HPV infection is very commonly seen in sexually active females. If it persists, then the changes will take place, and then in some of them there would be cervical cancer. Now, how to investigate for CIN? How will we come to know that a patient is having CIN? We have pap smear. Now, let's discuss pap smear. It's a very important screening test for CIN. Once I say screening test, that means it is applied to normal population. Remember, patient will not have any symptomatology, but just she is sexually active in that age group, and we are screening her to find out whether she has any of these CIN lesions. Pap smear has been done it's an OPD procedure, cheap, easily accessible. You all know the iris spatula. It is to be put inside the cervical os. It has an end which protrudes a little bit, 360 degrees movement. Before taking the pap smear, she shouldn't have any douching done, or no PV examination would have done before that. No antiseptic solution is to be used. Put the Cusco speculum, expose the cervix, put the iris spatula, rotate it through 360 degrees, spread it on the slide, fix it, and papanicular stain is done. Pap smear classification we have seen. Previously it was in grades of dysplasia, then it was in CIN 1, 2, 3 and CIS, and now according to the Bethesda system, it is either normal or ascus, then loci, Hissel and invasive carcinomas. Once the pap smear shows some abnormality, then we have to either repeat the smear depending on the condition, like if it's inflammatory, treat for the infection, repeat it. If the smear is normal, then we can assure her that she doesn't have, then every year we ask her to repeat the pap smear. We'll come to know how we are going to manage it. But pap smear is the most important screening test available here. It has very low sensitivity and specificity, but still because of the other advantage, it is still in use. But different tests like liquid-based cytology and HPV DNA tests are coming in big way, and let's see what happens in near future. The next thing, liquid-based cytology, in which the smear is taken and put in a liquid which dissolves the inflammatory cells, and whatever malignant cells we opt in, or whatever cells we opt in, not malignant actually in all the patients, but whatever cells we opt in from the cervical region or endocervical region, those cells are spread over in a very thin film and read in liquid-based cytology. So it's more specific and sensitive than pap smear. VIA is visual inspection of cervix with acetic acid and visual inspection of cervix with Lugol's iodine. Then there are methods like speculoscopy and spectroscopy, but what is in use more commonly is colposcopy. This again has become a very important investigating tool in case of CIN. Colposcope is a scope OPD procedure. We get to see the cervix and the nearby vaginal area with magnification. On colposcopy, if we see certain changes taking place in the epithelium, either in the cellular pattern or in vascular pattern, that suggests that the pre-malignant changes or malignant changes are there. and then we can take biopsies from these areas. We can also use acetic acid or Lugol's iodine along with colposcopy, and this is called as directed biopsy. Then other tools are like cone biopsy, cervicography, AGNOR. This is a new marker which has come. It's silver stain nucleolar organizer region. It gives appearance of black dots depending on the number of malignant cells available. HPV testing is right now very costly, but once ICMR kind of project comes in, this test would become very cheaply available, and it will have a very good effect on the screening modalities of CIN. HPV testing with pap smear, it gives 96% sensitivity both ways. Like we can have positive value towards prediction that she has pre-malignant condition, or if HPV infection is not there, then we can reassure her for 5 to 8 years that she can relax, that she doesn't have this infection, and so she has minimal chances of having pre-malignant and malignant lesions. The changes which are seen on colposcope, which suggest that there is that abnormal area, mosaic pattern. The cells are arranged like tiles, mosaic pattern in the cells. So if you are seeing through colposcope and you see this kind of pattern, that area is suspicious area. There can be leukoplakia, white patches. Vascular pattern, usually the vessels, a big vessel breaks into small, so it looks like a tree, or tree roots rather. From bigger, they go on decreasing in diameter gradually. But in malignant cells, or in pre-malignant or malignant condition, this arborization is lost, and there are punctations, either dot or corkscrew or comma-shaped punctations, big dilated vessels. So these are the regions which are suspicious, and from where we are supposed to take biopsy to diagnose CIN. The other method which helps is diagnostic cone. From the cervix, we take a biopsy which is cone shaped. The cone round, it's exactly like ice cream cone, round, and then the margins become narrow towards the endocervical region. So this is a biopsy which gives us bigger chunk. It's called as cone biopsy. It is indicated in patients where the limits of the lesion cannot be visualized, where the squamocolumnar junction is not seen on colposcopy. You should be able to see the squamocolumnar junction, then only the colposcopy is satisfactory. If it is gone inside, then even though we do colposcopy and the changes are not seen, but actually we have not reached up to the squamocolumnar junction. So in that case, cone helps. In cases where endocervical curettage shows positive cells for CIN2 or CIN3, then also we should go ahead with cone. Microinvasive carcinoma or adenocarcinoma in situ suspected on either biopsy or colposcopy or cytology, we should go for conization. And if there is no correlation between the cytology report and biopsy report and colposcopy tells us something, then it's better to do a cone and rule out any doubts. This procedure is not complication free. It has complications like bleeding, infection. It may lead to cervical stenosis or incompetent os. That's why we have to think and choose a patient properly. Now, how to manage CIN? Once we detect it, pap smear will tell us that the report is either CIN or low cell HSIL. So this method, how to manage it? We have either ablative procedures in the form of cryotherapy or laser vaporization. Or we can excise that much portion where the lesion is suspicious or abnormal. Then there can be large loop excision or loop electrosurgical excision or needle excision of the transformation zone. So these are excisional procedures. Or we can go for surgeries like conization, which we just discussed as a diagnostic tool, but conization can be diagnostic as well as therapeutic. And in certain cases, even simple hysterectomy can be used as management of CIN. But it's not advised. Hysterectomy is not advised for CIN2, CIN3. Excisional procedure like LEAP, LLETZ are the most favorite modalities for CIN. Now, depending on the class, let's see how to manage a CIN. So CIN class 1, I have not written here, but class 1 would be normal pap smear. In that case, suppose the pap smear is normal. In that case, repeat it consecutively for next 3 years. If it is normal for all 3 years, then we can ask her that every third year, 3 to 5 yearly, she can repeat it till her 50 years of her age. If there is class 2, that means if the smear is inflammatory. Inflammatory smear, treat the infection and repeat the pap smear. If after treatment of infection, if the pap smear is normal, then follow up as again 3 type yearly, normal, then ask her to repeat it 3 to 5 yearly. But if the infection persists in the repeat sample also, then we have to go for either conservative ablation procedures like cryo laser ablation, or we can go for excision procedures, or we can go for conization trachelectomy. Class 3, CIN, which by Bethesda is L-seal. It's an indication for HPV DNA test. If the HPV DNA test is normal, then we can reassure her. But if HPV DNA test shows there is HPV viral load or infection is there, then we have to treat her like the higher class lesion, HCL. Now what's the treatment for that class? The class 4, where either the lesion is CIN2, CIN3, that means HCL, then what is indicated? So this is a very likely asked question, that pap smear suggestive of CIN2, CIN3 or HCL. How are you going to manage this patient henceforth? What is advisable? Go for colposcope, colposcopic examination and colposcopic guided biopsy. Always remember CIN2, CIN3, that is the HCL lesion. You are going to go for colposcopy, colposcopic examination and guided biopsies. Depending on the report of the biopsy, depending on the lesion, if it comes HCL, if it doesn't show, biopsy, what information biopsy gives us? It tells us whether the basement membrane is intact or not. And this information can be achieved only on biopsy. Because pap smear, colposcopy, they are not looking at the basement membrane. They are just telling us that these are the suspicious areas. But basement membrane, the information can be achieved only on biopsy. It can be a punch biopsy from the lesion, or it can be colposcopic guided biopsy, acetic acid biopsy, or Lugol's iodine biopsy. Whatever biopsies we are taking, directed biopsies, they will tell us whether the lesion belongs to HCL or it's an invasive carcinoma. So the treatment will vary depending on that. So in CIN2 and 3, we can go for either ablative procedures, local excision or radical excision of by conization or trachelectomy. But all these procedures, whatever treatment we have seen, we need to follow up the patient later because cervix is still there. We have to have follow-up because we have the cervix persistent there. We have just detected CIN1, 2 or 3 and treated it by some of the modalities which are given, but follow-up is necessary because she needs follow-up to again check whether she is landing up in any pre-malignant condition. And if it is class 5, that means invasive carcinoma, then in invasive carcinoma, depending on the stage of the carcinoma, we have to treat it. Now, indication of hysterectomy in CIN. If there is recurrent repeat CIN2 or 3 in the repeated samples, then we have to go for hysterectomy. Mind well, hysterectomy is not advised as a treatment for CIN2 and 3. I said for CIN2 and 3, colposcopy, guided biopsies, and depending on the stage, we will treat. But in case if repetitive samples are showing 2 or 3, she has completed her family, she doesn't mind going for hysterectomy, then we can go for it. We have done conization and the limits of the cone are showing CIN3. Go for hysterectomy. If there is microinvasion, basement membrane broken, go for hysterectomy. If there is adenocarcinoma in situ on histological diagnosis, then we have to go for hysterectomy if she has completed her family. If the patient has very poor compliance, you don't know whether she'll follow up with you and she has 2 and 3, then you know that the disease will progress and one day she'll have microinvasive carcinoma. So better you go for hysterectomy. And if she has CIN2 and 3 and other associated problems like fibroids and prolapse and PID, then you can always go for hysterectomy in those cases. This is a progressive disease, CIN1 to CIN2 to CIN3. And what is the duration? The progression of the cancer is less than 1%, CIN1 goes to CIN2, but from CIN2 5%, and from CIN3 22% goes forward towards cancer. So from CIN1 less than 1%, from CIN2 5%, and CIN2 22% progression to cancer. So this finishes with CIN, that is the cervical intraepithelial neoplasia. We'll stop here and then we'll see invasive carcinomas in the next session.